and they place the blame on you. What's your response to them, Sophie?
Well, I'm going to have to say, yeah, that's right, because what the people are screaming about is right now more important than what you're screaming about. The truth of the matter is that in every government there's a little bit of fat, okay? And local governments, I think, okay, I'll use Inverness as an example, run pretty efficiently on the whole, but because they've gotten such a glut of revenue from the past couple of years from all the property values going up, they really have quite large reserves. Okay, so it's time for them to start prioritizing the projects they need to do, prioritizing what's most important to their citizens, and then, yes, they're going to have to cut back. But more importantly, Tallahassee needs to take some of their own advice, and they need to cut back also.
Let me ask you, you were on this Inverness City Council. Did you do that yourself?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I voted for the millage to be reduced. We actually flattened it a couple of times because we needed money for really big projects. We had to start putting money away for a big sewer project. We were mandated to replace our sewer. But on the whole, we cut back the millage literally every year. So yeah, we did.
David, what do you tell local governments as a legislator about them upset that you cut all their finances?
Well, I tell them that this is the tip of the iceberg. I tell them they better start tightening up their belts, because things are going to get worse before they get better. I think the economy is on a downspin, and it's going to get much worse before we see the light of day. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. One thing I wanted to bring up, though, as far as the proposed super exemption and renovation of the homestead law, there's a statute on the book. It's 200.0065, and basically what it addresses that local governments, regardless of how the property is appraised, can adjust their revenues to equal whatever they received from the prior year. And I have not heard from anyone how this new proposals in Tallahassee would have any effect on this statute. In other words, local governments can keep the same money coming in.
Ron Schultz?
No, well, you had 2 or 3 different things happening. And you asked me how you respond. I think what's important is to remember that we have 67 counties, we have hundreds of cities, and they have behaved differently. The reserves that Lee County has are huge compared to the reserves Dixie County has, or Jackson County. So there is no one solution for every city and every county, and that's going to be a major part of our problem. The constitutional amendment contains the following language. By general law, the legislature shall limit the authority of counties, municipalities, and special districts to increase ad valorem taxation. The legislature is asking us to pass a constitutional amendment that says the legislature shall take over control of ad valorem taxes at the local level, that they will be able to give the rules to cities and counties. And I expect that one phrase may be what defeats this whole constitutional amendment. I had a great friend in the legislature named Betty Easley, who has passed on many years ago, and she said government always works by the golden rule. He who has the gold rules. And this is a situation where the only tax that is reserved to local government in Florida is the property tax. And the state is about to take control of it. So what you're going to see, if this works, is a massive transfer of power from local governments to the state government. And I think the people of Florida will reject that.
Candidates, and starting with you, Ron, does it make sense for the legislature to be pushing these kind of rules on the local governments without looking at its own situation?
The one part of the property tax that the legislature directly controls is the required local effort for schools. For many, many years, property taxes supported 36% of the costs of the K through 12 program. And I just used the wrong number, 38%. It has gone up to 46% over the last 5 years. There's been a massive transfer of of the burden of schools off of state government and onto local government. In fact, if you look at the statewide numbers for the increases over the 5 years for counties, the increases for cities, and the increases for schools for required local effort, schools are almost as bad.
Sophie, what about that? I think, go ahead.
Well, it's true because the state has divested themselves of a lot of responsibility for funding education and pushed it off to local counties and cities. What those local counties and cities, and I think citizens need to expect from the state, is for them to take some of that responsibility back. And, you know, instruments that they created, like the Florida Lottery, which is a disappointment because it hasn't done what it should have been doing for education since its inception. Really, that's one of the main vehicles we can utilize now to fund education in a much more whole way than is being done now. The revenue that generates from lottery, which is just barely taking up whatever is lacking in the educational system for funds, they definitely have enough money to fully fund the educational program here.
David, you get about 30 seconds.
Well,
No, anyway.
the issue where the state is taking rights away from us, I mean, they've been doing that forever. I mean, it's just the one thing after the other. And then after they take the rights away from us, they turn around and give it to the lobbyists. They turn around and this reduced government size by paying back the lobbyists through contracts and awards.
Thanks, David. We're talking with the State House candidates. We'll continue after this break on Live Mic. Welcome back to Live Mike. I'm your host, Mike Wright from the Citrus County Chronicle, and we're here with the special hour-long edition of Live Mike for the special election, which is a week from today, for State Senate, District 3, State House, District 43, and if you're in Crystal River City limits, you get to vote for a Crystal River City council member as well. And here tonight are the three candidates for the State House, District 43. Let's talk, candidates, for a few minutes about property insurance. Legislature said they fixed the property insurance issue or crisis. That's not what I hear. David, what do you hear about that?
Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, my father has lost his homeowner's insurance, and I know it's not unique. Everybody has homeowners have been experiencing the same type of situation. they can go to this government-funded company that offer them insurance, but most of them have to pay an initial fee, which when you're a retiree, it's $600, $700, $800 off the bat, and then have it in 2 payments, have it paid right up front, and then it doesn't hardly cover anything. So the insurance companies bailed out on the state of Florida. They made record profits in 2005, and they made record profits in 2006, $40 billion and $50 billion respectively, I believe. And yet they chose to ignore the people, the small homeowners basically, who can't afford anything else. And if I was elected to Tallahassee, I would definitely set up some kind of insurance board where if these companies wanted to continue to sell their profitable policies in this state, in this county, they would have to continue selling homeowners also. Basically, these are national corporations, what you're talking about. And they make all this money, and they've had a loss in this one area of the country, and so they're bailing out. They have their CEOs making millions of dollars of bonuses every year. They don't seem to be cutting back on any of that. So I would set up some rules. If you can't give us the rest of the coverage, you can get rid of annuities, life insurance, car insurance. We'll get somebody else to take over for you.
Ron Schlutz, what do you think?
Yes, I like very much, Dave, the idea that you have to be a full-service company. You can't cherry-pick just which portions of insurance services you want to offer. My youngest daughter lives in Pinellas County, and she had to become a client of Citizens Insurance Company because her previous insurance company had canceled her. So her payments went from $1,100 to $2,800. And then we did the property tax reform thing. So hers almost tripled. We did reform last January, and she got her new bill, and her first payment went down from $400 to $399, and each of her subsequent payments went down $15 a payment. So she saved $151 after having a $1,700 increase. And that is not, to me, a solution to the property tax crisis. Yes, we had 8 hurricanes in 36 months. We had a catastrophic situation in terms of the insurance industry. But we have to recover from that. We've had 2 good years. The insurance rates as they now sit can't be justified if we have another year without several hurricanes. Now, if Tampa Bay gets inundated, if we get a huge storm that does in the state of Florida, that's going to be another question. But if we have another good year, I think next year's legislature has got to go in and fundamentally change those rules for the insurance industry. No cherry picking. The fact that my daughter is subsidizing me because I live waterfront and she doesn't, and she has rates that are comparable, that's immoral. That should not be happening. So we've got to get rid of the subsidizations, we've got to get rid of the cherry picking, and we've got to get rid of the pup companies. They've set up special corporations just for Florida insurance as subsidiaries of the national companies, and that should no longer be allowed. We should allow only the national companies to sell insurance in Florida.
Thanks, Ron. Sophia, Diaz from Franseco.
Yes. You know what's interesting to me about this, about property insurance, I feel that this is the #1 issue that we have to deal with in the state of Florida, even more so than property tax, because this is something that affects every single one of us, regardless. So the way I see property insurance, it's true we've had the 8 hurricanes and we've gotten over that, and we're not in the situation like Louisiana was in where they're still dealing with that. But the truth of the matter is, Florida, through the Insurance Commission, has actually been able to entice 5 insurance companies into coming back into Florida. 3 of them are actually located here in Florida to start writing more homeowners policies. I think if they go ahead and start to look into ways to either tier it or make sure that those that live on the coastal properties that are going to incur more damage, that they go ahead and have their own policies, that they can go ahead and select their own insurance company coverage to ensure that they are funding what they have to fund, and then allow the rest of us to have our own kind of insurance policy so that we're not subsidizing them. I think that that would help a great deal, especially if they give incentives to homeowners for hardening their homes, for putting up shutters, for doing better construction. Those types of things would help a great deal too. So the insurance companies could probably step away from that. But for the state to create their own catastrophic insurance company, underfund it, and then worse than that, force people to take that insurance because there's nothing else, I think is a crime. So I think the state needs to get out of insuring homeowners. We need to entice more insurance companies in here. And then more importantly, we need to make sure that we're not subsidizing coastal areas.
Just generally in a follow-up, because we do have about a minute left in here in this segment, the state has a responsibility in this? I mean, where does a free enterprise system come in?
Excuse me?
The state has a responsibility in stepping in for the insurance crisis?
I'm sorry.
Oh, well, you know, really, when we're talking about catastrophic insurance, like a national policy, I think if the state were to create a statewide policy or even a coastal policy, catastrophic, that they would come in for catastrophic events, I think that would be a much better way to do that than to have a national one.
We'll continue talking with House candidates after this break on Live Mike. Welcome back to Live Mike. Thanks for staying with us for this hour, the special hour of Live Mike. Political season, odd number year, summertime, voter turnout next week we know is going to be very, very low. We know that. There's not much we can do about that. We're talking with the state house candidates for that special race. And I wanted to ask the three of you, because it is a special race, and we're putting someone into office effectively for 1 year. Although some may suggest others, but whoever wins this race, if he or she wants to run for re-election, it's on the ballot again next year. I'm wondering which of you is best suited to hit the ground running. No learning curve. And Sophia, let's start with you.
Okay, I don't really believe there's no such a thing as a learning curve, because when you get up to Tallahassee, it actually is a little bit different of an animal than you would think. But thank goodness I have government experience. I've gone up to Tallahassee more times than I can count. Literally, almost every time I've gone up, I've brought back money into this community, whether it's through lobbying for grants or trying to get money for sewer projects or whatever. So I have that experience. I've made the connections. I know people up there. So I think my learning curve, as far as that would go, would not be that steep. But I think because it's such a short time frame, 1 year, I don't think there's anybody at this table that can't say that they're going to have to learn something, because we're going to be the ones that are going to be spotlighted. People are going to be watching us, whoever goes up there, because we have 1 year to actually make an impression and do something. Unlike having 2 years, which is your regular term, to where you may be learning at the beginning and then you kind of get the idea of what's going on, and you learn how to help write a bill, or you learn how to do whatever, make the connections, or who to lobby, or who to talk to. But because we have 1 year, it's going to be much more difficult, I think, for all of us. I may be wrong, but I know for a fact that it's not going to be that easy.
Ron?
Going to the legislature is not a 1 year issue. Nobody is effective in 1 year. You have got to build up your alliances, you've got to build up your knowledge. It is a 10-year commitment. I say 10 years because we have 8 is enough, but because it's actually a 9-year commitment. Because of 8 is enough, we get an extra year. Yes, I fully intend to run for re-election and to develop enough of a set of expertise in Tallahassee that several years from now, I can talk about what I have accomplished. And yes, we all have to learn. I've been in local government for 30 years now. I have some concept of how it works. I've lobbied Tallahassee. Much of the wording in the statutes with property taxes, I submitted. So there are some things that I can do now. There are other areas like insurance and health care. I'm going to have to learn a whole lot.
David?
Well, my whole life has been a learning experience. I have a BA in sociology, and for those of you who may or may not know, I'm in a wheelchair right now, but basically I've had to adapt, and whatever has happened, I've been able to grasp the situation around me and to take off with it. I've lobbied for. I'm actively involved in numerous campaigns on the internet for saving our ecosystem, our wildlife. I helped my daughter in all the funding for college. We had applying for grant programs and things of that sort. So she put herself through college, and I feel that I can do just about anything anybody else can.
Let's stay with you, David. One last question before I get a chance to wrap up. This is basically a Citrus County seat. There's little smidgens of Hernando and Levy County, but
Correct.
It's a Citrus County seat. All three of you live in Citrus County. Tell me, each of you, why you best represent the values of this community. David?
Because I've had, for 30 years, I've had a one-to-one relationship with so many Citrus County citizens. I'm like you out there. I've heard your complaints, I've experienced your misery, and I'm trying to do something about it. I would appreciate you considering me. I would have every intention on running for re-election if I was elected. I'm not quite sure how I can make it on the salary, but that's something else that I would overcome. And if I had to live in my van up in Tallahassee, then so be it. But I'm there to represent you, and I fully intend on doing that.
Sophia, why do you believe you best represent the values of Citrus County in the legislature?
Well, in 2002, Altrusa awarded me with the Community Woman of the Year in 2002, and there was a good reason for that. Because from the first moment I came to this community, I immediately jumped into different things that I could help with, different organizations, the Historical Society. I worked in, for a while there was an actual association, the Gospel Island Association, where we dealt with different issues. Too far. Also with the health department, they have a board where they talk about health issues, all kinds of things, church, whatever. But the thing about me is that I care deeply for this community, but not just Citrus County, but Levy and Hernando also. I've gone to so many events in both of those counties just so people can get to know me, just so I can know what their issues are. Because what people have to say to me and what they care about most is something I need to care about too, because that's what a good representative does. So is it important? I mean, do I care? Do I have those values? Yes. If you talk to anybody, they know I'm truthful to almost bluntness. I'm honest. I care. I set up the coffee with the councilwomen because I was so concerned that my citizens had to have an outlet, had to have a way to communicate directly with their representative as a city councilwoman, that monthly I would have these meetings and just let people tell me whatever they want, and things got done. So if you want things to be done, then you need to vote for me.
Ron Schlutz, why do you best represent the values of this community?
Okay. We are a diverse community. There is not one set of values in this community. I think all three of the candidates are within the mainstream of what we call the value structure of Citrus County. So I think from a values point of view, that's not really the issue. It's competency, it's interest, it's involvement, it's the other kinds of things. Yes, I grew up in Florida. I've been here since third grade. My wife is a fifth-generation Floridian. I have grandchildren who will grow up here in Florida. I have a commitment to this county and this community.
Thank you, Ron.
As do the others.
Thank you, Ron Schlutz, Sophia Diaz Franseco, David Gregory, all excellent candidates for State House District 43. Don't forget to vote next Tuesday. If you can't make it till Tuesday, early voting is this week, or you can vote absentee. Until next Tuesday, have a good night and have a great week. Thank you.